Hi there, Tarot Tube. Today is January 16th, 2018, and today I would like to do something a little bit different, and I'd like to talk about love. We're going to do a spread called the True Love Spread, and this spread basically helps us diagnose sort of like what's going on with our relationship, getting some advice on like how to move forward in a relationship. All of that. And so if any of you out there have a new relationship, you're having any problems within your relationship, this spread might be helpful for you. If you're not in a relationship, you can think about it in one of two ways. You can think about it basically like a friendship. It can be any kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, or it could be a relationship with yourself. And I like to think that all of us, I was at my tarot salon yesterday, and the question was posed essentially like, who are you? And reflecting on that, I do tend to believe that who you are is many different people. There are different situations where you act very differently, and sometimes the motivations and priorities of these different individuals that you are, they can be like even counter to one another. And so you can think about it as a relationship with yourself. So I will go ahead and begin. 9 of Cups. Ooh. 8 of Cups. 8 of Pentacles. 6 of Swords. This one's screaming at us lately. Ace of Swords. Okay, so this card right here is going to be representing you, and your situation right now is one of plenty. You have earned a lot. You are a person who is proud of what they own. They put it up on display, and you are emotionally connected, but this is more of a card of like prosperity, wealth. It's a very Pentacles Cups card. It definitely talks a lot about security, having earned, and looking forward with all of that, and sort of just basically saying, hey world, look, I've accomplished what I've wanted to, and I'm proud of that. There's nothing wrong with pride. The problem with pride is when it starts to verge onto sort of like the realm of selfishness, and that's what I worry about when I see this guy sitting there with his arms crossed, kind of like showing off all of his cups, is that perhaps there's a little bit of selfishness there inherent in keeping what you've earned and not necessarily sharing it with others. And so this card represents you right now. This card represents the other person. And again, this may be your romantic partner, it may be a friend, or it may be you in a different context. And here we've got 8 of Cups. It's very interesting that we got a consecutive series of cups here. That shows me that the relationship is very strong. It's got sort of like fundamentally some very similar energies to it. That being said, the actual characteristics between you are a little bit different. You're in different phases. This is an earlier phase from this one. And so this card tends to represent like the beginning of a journey. It tends to represent sort of going out on your own. And so what I'm seeing here is that the person that you're with, the other person in question, is traditionally considers themselves like a particularly solitary person. They consider themselves capable of getting along by themselves. They very well may be in a situation where they don't totally need to be in a relationship. They're comfortable being alone. And that can be a little bit scary, honestly. You might be thinking like, how can I be with somebody who doesn't need me? But if you want to jump into the whole Ayn Rand thing, that to me is one of the strongest relationships you can find. The truly conditional love, because the conditional love is coming from mutual respect, honesty, and open communication, rather than just some ethereal and ineffable feeling. And this is the kind of love that can ultimately become stronger, because if you're both strong individually, together you can become a really, really strong couple. Now, this represents your problem. the energy that you're bringing to the table that's a little bit negative, that's potentially causing some rift. And what we have here is Eight of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles is often called the Apprentice card. This basically shows like a man who's there, he's working away at some pentacles, and they're all the same. He's finished, you know, at least 5 of them, and maybe he's working on 1, and then there's 2 to go. And they all look exactly the same. He is capable. This is a card of pure focus. You know, right now in your life, you are dedicated to your projects, you're dedicated to your career, you're working really, really hard. And potentially, you know, you're not making enough time for one another. And so the advice that we're going to give you here is that while your work may be important to you, the relationship needs to be like sort of like bumped up in priority a little bit. You need to find ways to make time for this other person, and you need to work towards you know, finding like a connection that's going to be meaningful for both of you. Now, problem for this other person is Six of Swords. We've been seeing Six of Swords a lot lately. The general gist of Six of Swords is toil that brings us from rough waters to clear waters. It's basically things have been really, really rough for us lately, but as we move forward, we're going to see improvement there. And it takes work. Improving takes work. It's a constant process. It's never going to just happen, and once it happens, it's not done. It's a constant development. And so this person is in like a moment of flux. They're in a moment of, you know, development and movement, which is great. This is going to make this person very much like a stronger, you know, more centered person. However, this takes a lot of effort, and that effort is distracting from the relationship. Similar to their effort at self-improvement, you have this issue with, you know, sort of like focus on careers and projects. And so both of you are just a little bit distracted here with your own respective projects. That makes sense. They're a loner, and you're a little bit selfish. But this card right here is going to give us the advice on how to move forward and how to strengthen this relationship. And Ace of Swords is another one we've been seeing a lot of. Ace of Swords is essentially like pure opportunity, seed, growth, raw energy within the realm of the air element. And the air element is basically the one that dominates the mind. It dominates, some people say spirit, but I tend to associate spirit more with the wand suit, and this one to me represents more of like intelligence, ethics, these kinds of things. And so when we see the Ace of Swords here, I think that there's sort of like an intellectual challenge within this relationship that maybe the way to, you know, bridge the gap between this time is actually sort of like a rational approach. I mean, you're both very rational individuals, you're both very competent, and perhaps it's really just this open and honest discussion with one another to figure out, you know, what changes can actually be made so that you're spending more time together, or that the time you're spending together isn't as distracted. Because maybe you two are spending enough time together, but because you're both so focused on your own respective projects, you know, it's not really as meaningful as it could be. And so it might be that you two need to like basically just like sit down, have a discussion, and think about strategies that can be used to improve and deepen that connection. This might even be taking on a project together. You know, you can combine these energies. If you're both working on something, if, you know, you can dedicate focus to whatever improvement project this person's working on, you know, you can actually use that to really strengthen it, because bringing both of your strong creative energies together could create like a really solid, you know, workflow. It's always kind of dicey to get involved with like business or things like that with loved ones. I tend to recommend against it. But in this case, you know, you two might actually benefit from doing something like that. So, hopefully that helped. As always, you know, if you're finding these readings helpful, please sound off in the comments. Please like and subscribe. We've definitely been seeing an uptick in views lately, and I'm thrilled to see that, and hopefully we're going to continue that trajectory as we move in through this new year. The app is coming along very nicely, and I think that, you know, sometime in late February we'll have it ready. So we'll see you guys tomorrow.